One-on-One, the Daily Items weekly digital program featuring Susquehanna Valley newsmakers interviewed by Daily Item reporters. Today's guests are Barry and April James of Prehistoric Journeys, interviewed by reporter Justin Strasser.
SMC is where you want to be because they have the largest selection of new Ford trucks in all of central Pennsylvania.
And that means the biggest savings.
Take up to $13,500 off on new F-150s. And SMC has them starting as low as $26,669.
Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Justin Strasser. Today, our guests are Barry and April James. They are the owners of Prehistoric Journeys outside of Sunbury. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Nice to see you guys.
Hi.
Again. So our viewers out there might not know who you are, what you do. I think of you guys as one of the best kept secrets here in the Valley. People are always really surprised when I tell them that we have our own very vertebrate paleontologist outside of Sunbury. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and Prehistoric Journeys? You know, what happens out there in that big old barn?
Well, we fortunate enough we moved here from Santa Barbara, and I'm a vertebrate paleontologist, and my wife and I, April, 31 years ago, started this business called Prehistoric Journeys. And what we do now is basically put real dinosaur skeletons for museums and clients worldwide. So we're fortunate enough to get these animals sent from Wyoming or Montana to the workshop here, and we're doing it in an 1895 chestnut wood, barn, which is just incredible.
It's massive there.
Yeah, and that's what you need to put some of these.
Dairy barn. Yeah,
an old dairy
originally
barn.
been a dairy barn, so it's in very good shape because it was a dairy barn. It was cleaned. Apparently, from what we've learned, they're better with the cleaning of it, so it maintained the integrity of the barn, and we've maintained it beyond that. So.
And there's usually always bones out there or fossils.
Always bones out
they
there. Sometimes we have a big project, but even when we don't have a big project, a skeleton, we always have small pieces there, elements of dinosaurs.
Do you often hear that same reaction that I said about, like, best kept secret, not quite sure that you guys are around?
Yeah, I mean, we really tried to do stuff with the community, and we tried to put it. Our goal to move here was to take the school, the Edison School, and turn it into a museum, and so that it would be the town's museum, and it would attract people, and those people would take kids downtown to go to mom and pop restaurants, and it would be built up, and it would be just like Lewisville.
And that never panned out.
So much red tape and politics, even when it was free. We have other projects we want to do for the cold city, cold towns, and it's difficult to get stuff done.
So why Sunbury? Why the Susquehanna Valley? Why not Montana, where all the action's happening, or another state with digs?
Well, actually, Barry's aunt and uncle and their friends, Art Bowen and Karen Bowen, came out to see us in Santa Barbara. They came to visit us at our Dinosaur Valley out in Santa Barbara. And we were thinking about, we knew we wanted to open a museum, and we just weren't sure where. We had checked some places in California, and it just didn't seem viable. And they said, you should really come and check out the central Susquehanna Valley, and because it's building up, and they're doing, revitalization and so on, and it would be a great place. And we thought, oh, boy, we didn't really want to move back east. We both were from back east. And but we came out on a weekend, and the third place we saw, we just basically bought it on the spot.
You fell in love with it.
Well, the other thing is we needed something really big to go
Yeah.
ahead and put dinosaurs. I wasn't going to start building a building.
Or a
And the
garage,
other key thing was we really wanted to do something to help the town out and, and get information to children, because nobody can go to a museum and just touch the dinosaurs.
Right.
Even the professionals have to wear gloves.
And the concept of revitalization, it seemed a perfect tie-in to what we wanted to do. So we fortunately we found the farm, and the barn was big enough. We had a 3,000 square foot workshop in Santa Barbara that we had custom built, and the barn is easily that, if not more. And also it was big enough that Barry's goal is always enough room to throw the ball for our dogs, and it's still our property.
And all the cats, I think.
Right.
You have
Yeah, we
too,
have
right?
rescue cats too. Yeah, so it definitely worked out. Yeah.
So the last time we spoke was back in September of last year. You helped establish that little mini science center at Chief Shikellamy.
Right.
Yes.
And so they got a replica of the Tyrannosaurus Rex skull. They got sauropod bones, a couple other fossils. So I was a little jealous, but you brought your own little mini science center with you today, right?
Yeah.
You got a
we
couple
have stuff,
things.
yeah.
Yes, just a few things. Yeah.
What do you have to show us today?
Well, this is a replica of one of the T-Rex teeth. So
Okay.
this here is what would be, showing above the jaw, and this is the actual root. And this is when you did an article, we did a scan of the T-Rex at the Sunbury Hospital, and you have a picture of the kid touching. They got a chance to touch the real
thing.
teeth and stuff like that.
And that's just a replica.
This is a replica.
But this is how big it would be, right?
This is exactly how big it would be. And then under here, where this groove is, there would be another tooth. So as this one fell out, another tooth
I was
came
gonna
back.
say, is it designed like that big because it's dug in there? It's
Yeah,
strong.
the T-Rex are some of the other carnivores, they have like teeth like a blade, like a knife blade. The T-Rex has got one that's, you can see how big it is. I mean, it's just big and round. It's made to crush bone.
Okay.
And then this is just a real toe bone from a sauropod.
So this is the real thing.
This is the actual real bone.
Am I allowed to hold it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So which sauropod is this from?
That's from an Apatosaurus.
Okay.
And the one key thing here about the dinosaur bones, you can go out like you were saying, Montana, Wyoming. I could have moved out there and lived there for 50 years and never found a skull or skeleton. I mean, there's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of people out there digging. When they find a skeleton, then someone notifies us and we notify our museum. And
Yeah, we never in the field.
we've done more skeletons than anybody has ever done. And one last dinosaur bone. This, for
That's a
30,
little tiny thing.
Extremely
32
rare.
years being in the field, this is the femur, the right femur, the upper leg of a duck-billed dinosaur.
You got a quarter here.
to show how big it is.
That's a
So that
adolescent,
was
a baby
It's a
one.
baby.
Baby.
A baby.
Just, probably the egg broke and maybe it died or something like that or whatever, and this is the only bone that was...
Very,
Wow.
very difficult and rare to come across.
Because they're so small. Is that why they're
Yeah,
they're
because they usually
difficult?
break up and
Yeah.
shatter, and that's
Okay.
it.
Okay. So is this a replica of the one that you were
Of the T-Rex,
of
yeah.
the T-Rex that you had? Tell us a little bit about the T-Rex. There's a lot of debate, I think, among whether it's scavengers, whether they were hunters.
I think personally, as a paleontologist and everything we know, I think it did both.
Okay.
Just like
Yeah.
you would be with a wolf. If there's a dead deer, then they're going to scavenge it.
Scavenge.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're going to hunt. I mean, the other thing is the T-Rex had powerful legs. It could run at a good speed. If it was just a scavenger, you wouldn't need that.
Yeah, they were very successful, so they had to be adaptable to the environment, and so obviously it seems to us that they would encompass both areas.
And that big skull is made to, you're running after an animal, you make one bite and that's it.
Some serious damage.
If it was a scavenger, you wouldn't need all that powerful, skull and
Right,
stuff.
right. And the Apatosaurus here, the bone you brought, how big did these guys get?
This one is the same size we set up in Abu Dhabi airport and stuff like that. So this is about 80 feet long.
80 feet. That's massive.
Yeah. And the one we put down in the Capitol,
And at
was
the
a,
National Armory
was
here.
Diplodocus, and that was 84 feet long.
Okay. Okay. Now, have you? We had Jurassic Park or Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom come out recently. Have you
Right.
gotten a chance to see
I haven't
that?
gotten to see it yet.
Not
no.
yet, no.
You saw the first Jurassic World?
I saw all the other ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
What do they do well in those movies, and what do they not do so well? What's not so accurate?
I think the stuff they do well is the dinosaurs and the movement of the dinosaurs. I think that's the most key thing. I
Okay.
mean, they're making them, bringing them really back to life the way they are. Because they do talk to technical people. They're not just cartoons. So they are, and this latest one apparently is supposed to be even more advanced. So you really everyone gets a chance to see what they really were like.
And what do they not do so good? What are some of the inaccuracies that you shake your head at as
Well,
a
would be the
paleontologist?
title, and the T-Rex is not Jurassic. So
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
that would be the main thing. But, I don't think Cretaceous world would have had the same impact as Jurassic World.
I think the biggest thing is that if you really did put all that money into a park, you wouldn't have it that the dinosaurs would escape. But you need them to escape if you're making a movie.
Yeah.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right. And I think the big thing is like the raptors are supposed to be more bird-like. They don't look like reptiles. Is that
Yeah, they're more
sort of what?
bird-like, yeah. Yeah.
And that the movies don't portray that as well as what the science is today, right?
Right. Or they get the size a little bit bigger than what they would be normally, or something like that.
Like the raptors.
Yeah.
The raptors are.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna take a break, and we'll be back with Barry and April James.
4 city blocks of new Ford trucks. Over 40,000 trucks sold. SMC is where you want to be. Sunbury Motors Ford has over 110 new Ford trucks. And during July, they'll include a complimentary accessory package. With the purchase of any new F-150 through July 31st, receive a tonneau cover, molded splash guards, and window deflectors at no additional charge.
We're back with One-on-One. We're here with Barry and April James, the owners of Prehistoric Journeys right outside of Sunbury. We touched on a little bit on the first half of the program here about some of the unique fossils that you've worked with. One of them I'm thinking of was Apollo, and that was a Brontodoplodocus, right?
Yes.
And that you were able to have that displayed at the Pennsylvania State Capitol.
Right.
You had it here at the Sunbury Armory. What was it like working with such a massive fossil?
That was really impressive because it was supposed to go overseas to, I think, Taiwan or something, museum. And we were able to talk to the people. And if it wasn't for Representative Merle Phillips and Linda Carver and stuff like that and their staff, we wouldn't have been able to show it down at the Capitol, you know. And then we had talked to Merle about putting it in the armory so that people here could get to see it. And for 5 days in the armory, over 25,000 people got to see it. But the unique thing was they were able to get up close. We had a vertebrae that the kids could touch and stuff like that. And everybody got together, whether it was the military people, got the Jeeps and dressed in uniform. Some people brought elderly and handicapped children there to see it, you know. So where children don't get a chance to go down to Harrisburg or down to Philadelphia or Pittsburgh to see something, it was right here for them to get up close and see something. And that's what makes it
And they
worthwhile.
remember it. They still,
Yeah.
in fact, 2 days ago I was at a store and somebody came out and mentioned how much that meant to their children. They had taken their children to the armory. That's a few years ago, and you know they still remember it. So it definitely has an impact, and that's an important aspect for us is to work with the community and to share with the community. Obviously, we're limited as to what we can do at our at our workshop, but we always try to do outreach, as you well know. So,
And it was really neat because I got to go down there and cover it down at the state
Yes.
capitol, and it was really cool to see like the massive dome of the Capitol with this
Yeah, I know.
giant
Oh.
skeleton wrapped around it.
It was
And if I remember
beautiful.
correctly, it was you could walk underneath the tail
Yes,
towards one of the
exactly.
wings.
Yep.
So I think that was kind of neat.
yeah.
Did you get a lot of good reaction from the state employees down there?
Absolutely,
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
And I'll tell you, if it
yeah.
wasn't that Merle had the connections and would do something like that, there's never been a dinosaur in any federal building in the United States.
Yeah.
No.
And here it was, this, and it with the way we mounted it, it fit perfect. So when
Yeah.
you walked in, the head was 17 feet up in the air. You know.
Yeah.
And you worked really close with Merle before
Yeah.
he passed.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I think he had a proclamation for you guys. He worked really close with you guys.
We were very good friends.
yeah.
And we're still friends. When we did the grand opening for the mini science center at Chief Shikellamy,
Yeah.
we had Helen there, which was fantastic, and his son. And,
Helen's his wife.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so you know we're very close to the family. We love them all. They're very special people.
And I'll tell you, it was Representative Linda Culver to go ahead and push that because we said we had a replica skull and we were able to do something. And it's the same thing. A lot of schools weren't interested.
Even though
When-
it was free, we weren't charging them
And
for
then
anything. It
the
was a
principal
donation.
there, he raised his hand right away and wanted that skull. And I said, look, I can put a real bone here, and you had these other cases. We'll fill the stuff up. It won't cost. And now the kids can go in and touch a real bone. They
Yeah,
see the
at
skull.
Chief Shikellamy,
And
yeah.
it made
Yeah.
a big difference. And that's what we try to do.
Yeah.
I mean, just, pass on it. We're lucky enough to be and fortunate enough to work on these animals. We don't want to just ship them off and that's it. So
Right.
we pay whatever it costs to move it around, and we got to get permission from the client. But it works.
And now, 3 years ago, you had Tristan the Tyrannosaurus
Yeah.
Rex, which is the third most complete T-Rex
Yes.
skeleton that ever
Significant,
was.
Yeah.
the last I heard, it was on a 3-year display in Germany.
Right.
And I think that
Berlin.
3 years is almost up.
It's staying there.
It's staying there.
staying,
Permanently
yeah.
or indefinitely?
It's been very, very successful for the Naturkunde Museum
That's
in
cool.
Berlin.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't even going to try to pronounce it. I have it written down here.
Oh, yeah, it's a fantastic display and exhibit, and they get, we still talk to the director, and he tells us they have lines around the corner still to see Tristan.
Well, the
Tristan
unique thing
Otto
with
is the
Tristan
full name.
was not only was it the third, greatest number of bones, but it had 3 different bone diseases.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Berlin has millions of dollars now in funding for research to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing was that Linda helped us go ahead and get, we wanted to Skype Berlin, and she set it up that we had 500 second and third graders sit in that auditorium at the high school where the screen is 35 by 25
It's
feet.
almost life size.
They loved it. They
Yeah.
loved it.
And then we worked with the director over there, and, they were-
The children in Sunbury saw Tristan before the exhibit was open, and the director, curator, gave them a guided tour of it. So it was very special, very special.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things is when you did the report, you wrote down on the title, the Shikellamy students are the first pupils to ever touch the real T-Rex.
Yes.
And that's what the whole goal
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and that meant a lot to
With
these
all the
kids.
stuff that's going on, with all the research, those second and third graders were the first ones to touch that skull before it was CAT scan at the hospital.
So would you say that that's kind of, would that, the Tyrannosaurus, would that be kind of a highlight of your career, or is there something else?
There's a lot of different, when we went
Yeah.
to Arabia and this and that, we went to different places, Mexico,
A T-Rex is,
but a T-Rex is
pretty
the ultimate,
special.
yeah.
There aren't many of them to
Right.
begin
Right.
with, and to have the opportunity to do this, and Barry designed a skull, an articulation of a skull, so that every one of the 55 bones of the skull could be taken off and researched independently without affecting the integrity of the skull. So that was also very special.
Now, you've both been very passionate lately about unity, and you and your crew members recently made a YouTube video calling for some unity. Can you kind of go over briefly about what that message is and why it's important to you?
Well, the way the country is right now, whatever your belief is and whoever you back, the bottom line is we are all connected and all care about our children and grandchildren and the veterans of this country. I mean, it's family. And I think we forget with all the stuff going on where people are trying to divide the people. And the people have to remember, we are one. It doesn't matter who the leaders are. The country is made up of small towns across the United States, and it's all the families that matter. And we should be caring about our children and grandchildren and, making our country better. When there's a perfect example is when there's a sports happening, there's thousands of people in that arena that are cheering for the U.S. team. They don't look and say, well, I think he voted for this person, or I don't think he likes children. No, we're all one.
All together.
We are one as one unity. And that's what actually it all came about because with the new Jurassic movie, there's this Pachyslephosaur dinosaur with a dome on its head.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I have done the real one, which is, it has spikes, which
The
is
first ever. Yeah.
first ever. It's called a Stygimoloch. So my friend called me and said, why don't you film that? Because now with Jurassic World, you may want to sell that and we can do something. And I said, well, maybe I'll do that. And then I realized if I do that and put it on YouTube
It's a platform.
as a platform, I can say now that I have everyone's attention with the dinosaur, here's what we got to be looking at. Because it's one thing to be a politician and have all this money. It's another to be a down-to-earth person. So it's...
And I think the key is simplicity. You don't have to be an activist. You don't have to be out marching. You don't have to do anything spectacular to make a difference and to have unity. I think if everybody just smiles at someone in the market, I make a
Yeah.
point of doing that. I'll smile at someone who maybe looks like me, or I'll say hello, or do something to interact. And it's amazing every single time they're very happy about it and they want to share. So
Well, one quick last thing. If people want to see something on YouTube, all they have to do is look up dinosaurs for American families, and they'll see the message.
And that's sort of been a message that you've had for quite a while.
Oh, yeah, always.
Always.
Whenever I talk to you
yeah.
at different events and different organized events, you know, for the kids, for the community, that's always been kind of your mantra.
Right, right. It's always been
yeah.
that way for us.
That's good to hear. So one last question before we go: favorite dinosaur and why? We'll start with you, April.
Why? What? I'm sorry.
Favorite
Favorite
dinosaur,
dinosaur.
and
Oh,
why?
well, I'll tell you, there are many I love. I love the Eriops. It's an unusual sort of reptilian.
Okay.
It's a dinosaur, but a reptilian dinosaur. Of course, I adore the T-Rex. He wouldn't. And I've always been enamored of the duckbills we've done. And then the other thing, Triceratops. We've done a number of Triceratops skulls, and they're just so magnificent. And they're all my favorite. You can't help but love them. They all have a story.
Yeah.
And as we work on them, we see their story
We
come
bring them
to
back
life.
to life, basically.
And
That's what's cool.
yeah, so every one is special to us, and we sort of develop the story as we're going through because the bones give us the information.
Barry?
It would be a Dimetrodon. That's
Okay.
before dinosaurs. It's got the big sailback.
Oh, yeah, those are
were the
cool.
biggest animals back 285 million years ago. And we were fortunate. Some of these things have been sitting around for 50, 100 years, and we're lucky enough to get those, and we're able to put them together. And hopefully, we can always show them to the rest of the community. Which
We've
is
done
cool.
158 skeletons.
More than anybody else.
More than anyone else. And there aren't that many people who do what we do. And that's not counting individual elements like a skull or a leg bone or a tail section. So 158 complete skeletons we've done in our career since we started the business.
And all the major museums and all the major vertebrate paleontologists from around the world come here to Sunbury to our shop. So we always wanted to try to share all that with everybody around here. So that's
All
what we
right.
try to do. And you make it happen.
You do.
Oh, well, thanks.
And we appreciate everything you've
It's always
done.
fun working with you.
Thank
It's something
you.
different and it's interesting.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Barry, April, thank you for joining us
Thank you.
for today's edition of 101.
Thank you for watching One on One. We hope you will join us this coming Thursday at noon for a new installment.